Good evening, Street Fighter fans. We are just a couple of days away from the first week of Stream Team League. If you follow Stack on YouTube, on Twitch, which you surely do, we've been talking about it. We've been excited for this. We've been planning it for a long time. It is happening Monday, March 7th on twitch.tv/StackBradford. You can watch it live. We're also going to have previews, things of that nature, highlights on this channel, but that's where you want to watch it live. $1,000 prize pot. Every player paid $50 to get in. Winner take all, $1,000. So a lot on the line. We've never had that kind of stakes in Stream Team Battle before. We've certainly had donations and the like, but this is people putting up their own money. $1,000 winner take all. It's going to be a really good time. Having this level of stakes, I think, on Stream Team Battle in the Stream Team Battle format is going to be one of the most exciting things in Street Fighter that's happened probably in the game, honestly. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a part of it. Anybody that's watched this knows that this is a super fun event. Everybody always has an excellent time, and it gets crazy hype. I'll stop gushing about it. We're pumped for this. How's it going, Stack? How you doing, man? You ready for this?
I'm so ready for this. Yeah, man. As you mentioned, when you put money on the line and it's other people's money, not just your own, it really changes things. Because you remember when we first started, people saw it as a way of getting into an exhibition without having so much pressure on them. You know, they're part of a team, so if I lose, it's not a big deal. But then you realize when you're in there, like, wait, if I lose, like, it affects everybody else. So it actually adds a pressure that people don't realize until they're right there in the scene. So that's the interesting thing part about it. And then also you mentioned it's going to be 4 weeks total and double headers 3 of those weeks until the finals. The two most winningest teams will be at the finals. It might either be one team going 3-0 or two teams going 2-1 to meet there. But we have 4 strong teams that they all know each other. They're all in the Discord. They're all in the community. I've seen a lot of these guys grow up, if you will, and develop as players. So I'm very interested in seeing how these guys progress.
Yeah, as am I. And I think what you hit it right there. One of the best things about Stream Team Battle, we've already seen that. We've seen player development over the course of the last year. We've been doing this over a year now. But now we're going to see it in a much tighter, compressed space in a 3 to 4 week span. And these players also know what character they're going up against, so they can train against that character. So you're going to see a different level of play out of these players than you normally see because they know what they're up against.
That's true. Yeah, and one thing that Stream Team Battle has always been about is having a bunch of different skill levels contributing equally to the team. So it could be anywhere from silver to UGM, but the silver players' points matter just as much as the UGM. And then the way to do that is to have it rank divided. And this is as close as you're going to get to like a fair playing field. When you have maybe a slight, even if you have a slight skill discrepancy, these people know who they're playing so far in advance that you can get the information on your opponent to close that skill gap a little bit. I've seen it time and time again. When you have a little bit of information on a player, you can really even the playing field more than it already is. And I already think this is as close as you're going to get to it. As you'll see in these matchups I'll bring up right now, actually going right into our first match.
Yes. Of
Gingybert representing Team Mags versus Gorillatap on Cody Mayer's end. Now, we're looking at Gingybert, who's actually 0-3, but he's only played in 1 match, and he just lost 3, and that's just how it's going to go sometimes. But he has a 55% win average against Ryu. And then Gorillatap, on the other hand, is 9-9. All of Cody Mayer's team has a lot of experience, by the way. He's got a 58% win average against Kareen right out the gate. So, what do you think about this one?
I think it's going to be an interesting one. And these are both friends of the stream, good friends of the stream. We talk to them quite a bit. 2 very different players, clearly. So Gingybert, also known as Carl Hummerhut in your stream, he plays very solidly, and he tries to play solidly. He tries to not go too wild. I mean, Kareen has so many little tricks and things that she has at her disposal to throw at you and kind of get wild. He doesn't do a ton of that. I mean, he could probably stand to do more. We're not here to critique his gameplay, but he plays so tight, more than you'd expect for a Kareen at that rank. Then you have Gorillatap, who plays kind of wild. We've discussed him before. I remember the first few times I watched him, and the first few times he was on Stream Team Battle, he would do things like stick out a crouch medium punch and cancel it into Dragon Punch.
Right.
You know, kind of wild stuff like that. I think because of that, it's going to be pretty even. I personally have it as 3-2 in favor of Gingybert, just because that playstyle of Kareen, I feel like is really hard to deal with. But I still see it as very close, though. But I do say slight edge Gingybert.
I think I'm right with you there. I think the score is going to be exactly that, and I think you pretty much nailed it. I was talking to Gorillatap was mentioning in his chat that he actually broke off one of his buttons on purpose because he doesn't want to use it anymore.
I saw that.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention what. I'm not going to give away any game plans, but basically he's tired of using this button. He's broke it off like a true gorilla. But I think what's going to happen is the gorilla is going to kind of introduce a lot of pressure. Gingybert's going to fumble at first and finally able to compose himself, maybe with the help of his teammates in his ear, telling him, hey, he keeps doing this, man. Just take care of it, and then that'll get you the win. And I think that's what's ultimately going to happen is going to be 2 games that Gorillatap and Gingy were able to bring it back to 3-2. We're going to move on to Division 4 then of Team Mags and Cody Mares. It's going to be Surmy versus Chaos Theory. Important thing to note about this is that Chaos Theory is the most experienced Stream Team Battle player on the roster, and actually altogether with a record of 30-20 with 50 total fights. And that's a winning record too, which is good at that amount because you'll see a lot of these guys have either losing records or even records. But anyway, on the flip side, Surmy has never been on Stream Team Battle, so we're dealing with most experienced versus least experienced. However, Chaos Theory appears to have not a whole lot of experience with Ed, with only a 44% win average in the 9 ranked matches that I saw, whereas Surmy has a 54% win average, which is fairly average in that rank against Balrog. So where do you think this is going to go?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. Surmy has not been on Stream Team Battle yet. I did a little bit of research on Surmy since I haven't really seen any of him, and he's got about 3,000 matches, if my data is right, in ranked in Street Fighter, Ultra Gold. I looked at a couple of replays. Likes to push buttons, likes to get active, likes to get in there, but I don't know how well that will hold up against Chaos Theory playing the character Balrog, because I feel like these are both characters, and you might have more knowledge on the character matchup, but when both characters like to do things that move themselves forward and move themselves toward the opponent, I kind of sense Balrog winning that. The dash punch, dash straight is so powerful. I mean, Ed's stuff like the fireball that moves him forward and different things like that seem to be slower, and I just feel like in a button pressing frenzy, just in general, I like Balrog. And you have the fact that Chaos Theory is that much more experienced in Stream Team Battle, possibly in a competitive setting. I don't know. Maybe Surmy has played a lot of competitive events. I don't know. But just knowing the data that we have, I feel like it's an advantage for Chaos Theory. I have it as 3-1 Chaos Theory because of those factors.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm thinking in my head right now, 3-1 Chaos Theory for the same reason. Basically, Chaos Theory, I think, is going to do the things that he wants to do, and it's up to Surmy to stop it, and I don't know if he's going to be able to for very long. I think it'll probably start off pretty even, and then I think Chaos Theory is going to loosen up, and next thing you know, he's hitting every overhead and every EX dash straight, and this is one that that's likely to happen in my head, but I don't want it to happen. I think Surmy, we don't know, like you said, we don't really know too much about him. Maybe he's been studying this whole time, and he's the V skill mix-ups and then blocking the EX dash straights, so it's up to Surmy to figure this one out, and I agree with you. It's going to be something like 3-1 in Chaos Theory's favor.
One thing that's going to be very fun about this league is I think we're going to see surprises. People have been grinding. I think we're going to see new things from people that we haven't seen because of the training they've been doing. So I'm really excited for that.
There is one, actually, that's a good point. There's one last thing to add is that this is first to 3, and these guys are all used to playing first to 2s. Get ranked matches just by default first to 2, and a first to 3 changes everything. We've watched enough Stream Team Battles to know that, especially in the early divisions, it kind of goes one way or the other a lot of the time. It's either 3-0 this way, 3-0 this way, because the other person just knows how to handle it and the other person doesn't. That's just the way there is. But with this much premeditation, I think we're going to see a lot of 3-2s. So, two early on and then the other person coming back. I feel like we're going to see some of that, like we did at Capcom Cup like 2016, where you just have that additional game to give the person just one more chance to figure something out and go all the way.
Oh, I think we will see that. I think you're right. Because with the training against characters specifically, I think you'll be able to make adaptations easier, and I think that will be a factor.
Absolutely. With that, we're going to move on to the next one. A bit of a rivalry set, you could say, as they just played recently. We got Big Tex versus Stone. These guys just recently played just 2 Stream Team Battles ago. And Stone has actually played again since then versus Cats Named Flash, but they just played these guys, and it was 3-2 in Stone's favor. And Stone had mentioned that he only feels more confident about it from the information that he gathered from the set. But what are your thoughts?
if Stone's saying that and that did factor in because we had talked about that before. I think it's an advantage for Stone. I feel like in the character matchup, we've seen some big techs. He plays well. He has good offense and things like that. But I feel like if Stone is saying something like he feels more comfortable, even more so now than before, when he already beat him. I think it was close, but he did beat him. I feel like Urian is a character that when you learn how to deal with some of those tools, especially at this level now, they're diamond, right? It was, I believe. I think I had the same mix-up the other day, but at that level too, I think, if you have confidence against Urian, that makes a huge difference in that character matchup, because so many of his things are kind of gotchas. Things like the Aegis mix-ups, or even timings of like headbutts or the knees and things like that. So if he has that kind of confidence, I think it's probably going to be more decisive in Stone's favor this time around. Although I also don't know how Big Tex has been training, but again, that's just unknown, so it's not something I can factor in. But factoring in what we do know, I have it as 3-1 Stone.
Finally, we have a disagreement. I actually think it's going to be, but not an off one. I think it's going to be Stone, but I actually think it's going to be 3-2 in Stone's favor. Just because I know he's confident, but I think Big Tex is going to throw a wrench in there somewhere, kind of throw his game off a little bit, and make him think like, oh, he's not doing the things that I thought he would do. And get messed up a little bit. And Urian has such a good comeback factor, which is actually what got Big Tex the 2 games to begin with. There's a lot of like wake up reversals and Aegis setups. So
true.
I do think Stone is probably overall the more developed player, but with this sort of pressure, that could even it out just a little bit. But I think Stone's gonna edge it by maybe just 1 round. And it only gets more exciting because this next set in Division 2 is the one I'm looking forward to the most. We have Misokrattz versus Glitter. I'm really excited about this one. I'm personally close with these 2 players. Misokrattz is Stream Team Battle. She's been with us for so long, and I'm streamer friends with Glitter for so long, so I just have personal investment in this match. I want both to win, and so if I had to make an objective call, I think that Misokrattz is a slightly more developed player. Overall, has a better fundamental understanding of the game, whereas Glitter, as you mentioned, is a bit more battle weathered. Has a lot of ranked matches under her belt. Plays a lot of games. That being said, I think this is gonna be a close one. I think I'm gonna have it 3-2 Miso. I don't know what I said the first one, but now second thought, I think it's gonna be a close one. It's gonna be 3-2 Miso. What do you think?
Yeah, I think my thoughts are also pretty much what we discussed prior. I see it as 3-2. If I could pick like a tie somehow, this would probably be one for that. But I do think Miso has a little bit of an edge. But it's such an intriguing match because of the differences you mentioned. Now, there have been moments in Stream Team Battle, because Glitter has been in more Stream Team Battles. Miso, I think, has just been in 1 or 2. There are times where Glitter, if things don't go to her game plan, things kind of fall apart. She seems to run out of ideas. And I think the edge, because they're really different, but one thing that you can kind of compare is, I'm just guessing that Miso is probably going to be more even. I mean, if you watch her stream and play, she'll demolish people while just having friendly conversation. And she's doing all kinds of high-level technical things in her gameplay, almost not without thinking, but kind of as nature. She has so much experience with all the Zeku tech and Street Fighter tech in general. She knows the game so well. One of the most knowledgeable people on the game overall I know easily. I think you kind of can compare that, and I see that as being an edge for Miso, kind of the evenness and the extra knowledge, but still extremely close. Like I said, I'd pick a tie for this one if I could, but I do give it a slight edge to Miso, 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, and one last thing to add on that is that they have their team in their corner. And so a big part of this, just by being separate from the player themselves, is the information that they're getting. There's a lot of people who don't actually want information in the middle of the round. I know that for sure. Like, don't talk to me as I'm trying to think. But in between games, they're allowed to talk to each other, even in the middle of the set. Like, they're there. You can turn on your headset and be like, hey, this person keeps doing this, or why aren't you doing this? You haven't anti-aired at all, or whatever it might be. So that's where these last 2 players come in the captain division. These are the captains of the team, Mags and Cody Mayer. Mags being the more skilled player in general, but who's the better coach? Who's going to be able to tell the person the thing that they need to hear? It's one thing to really know how to play the game. It's the other to explain it. And if there's a situation that Mags, just objectively says, but the teammate is not able to implement it, it doesn't do it much good. Maybe Cody Mayer is able to explain it in a way that simplifies, like, hey, all you need to do is press crouch fierce every time they jump and you're good, or whatever the situation might be. But that being said, we are in the captain division. We got Mags versus Cody Mayer. This is probably one of the easier matchups to call the winner on, but it's kind of hard to decide how lopsided it's going to be, because on paper you would think it's actually going to be heavily in Mag's favor. But I just talked to Cody Mayer again this morning, and he just sounds more and more confident. He said he's been doing a lot of homework. So before I pass it off to you, I will say I think this is going to be possibly 5-3 at the most, but I think it's going to be 5-2 in Mag's favor. What do you think?
I originally had this as 5-1 in favor of Mag. If Rich has that, if he's got that kind of confidence and he says that he's been studying up, I might move that to a 5-2. I don't know if it changes the outcome of the entire event for me, but I could see that being 5-2. Like you said, it's overall winner, easier one to call. I did like your analysis about the coaching, though. I did not think about that, so that's really fascinating. But as far as the dynamic between these two, this individual matchup, it's hard to imagine Mag not having his way. He's only been on Stream Team Battle once. It feels like more, but I know he has killed every time he's been on. Rich Cody Mayer is very good on his own, but Mag he's just one of the best players out there, really, and he just never seems to struggle or be at a loss.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, he's only been on regular Stream Team Battle once, 5-0'd Zeku there, but he's been on Cross Gauntlet, which is like a side project, a cool ass side project, and he beat Brian F there, and then he did the Super Series against IDOM and won that 5-4 in one of the craziest matchups I think we've ever had on Stream Team Battle. But most importantly, he's an exhibition killer. Outside of Stream Team Battle, he beat the hell out of Mandrake. He beats the hell out of everybody that he runs into in exhibitions. The reason why I guess he doesn't have the same recognition as Punk and Zone is because he doesn't have the tournament results, because maybe he doesn't travel as much, or he just, sometimes it depends on the bracket or how you feel that day. But when we're and first to two, sometimes just get fast one pulled on you. But give this guy more than a couple games and you're in trouble. I can't think of a time he lost at exhibition, actually. I genuinely can't. So that being said, you give him 5 games. I don't see how Cody Mayer is going to come out this one the victor. But I will say that his strategy, coming from his mouth, is I just have to not get 5-0'd. And he thinks his team can do the rest. As long as he doesn't get 5-0 and doesn't allow Mags to get the critical division, he can get the win for his team.
I really like that mentality. I wasn't aware that he said that. I love that, because originally I had my total score tallied. I had it as 13-11 in favor of Team Mag. If I give Rich another game, which I am, that puts it at 13-12. If he can get just 1 or 2 surprises in the other divisions, they could come out the winner. And I think Rich is correct. If it goes by his math, that's totally a valid way of thinking.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, Cody Mayer's team is definitely taking it the most serious from a team perspective. They understand that there are players on the roster that are stronger than them, but they also, because they're so experienced in Stream Team Battle, they understand the importance of the teamwork aspect. We always say between every Stream Team Battle that the team who's the most interactive, that as soon as we see a team who's all involved in the Discord chat, we almost know that they're going to be the winners. If they're the most active, they're the most in it. It doesn't matter if the other side's a bunch of strong players. Anytime that one team is super interactive and helping each other out, it usually goes pretty one-sided, as we've seen over and over again. So Cody Mayer's that team. That will be the end of this exhibition, which is at 6 p.m. But as we mentioned, doubleheaders every Monday. So right after this, there's a little 15-minute intermission, and then we're getting right into the next set between Team Metro and Team Espadah. A whole nother 5-on-5 right after that, and it's starting off in the Division 5 with Disterbia versus Lil Nani. Now, Disterbia has only a 25% win average against Honda in ranked, whereas Nani has a 71% average against jury players. They're both a little higher ranked than they started off. That could be a product of the characters, or they've just put in those extra hours ever since they knew they were going to be on Stream Team League, because they were allowed to be at a starting point and then move on. If you got recruited at gold and you were there fair and square, you're able to rank up. These guys both have Ultra Gold. As we know, Honda has one of the higher win rates on CFN, if not the highest, so that's not too surprising. But just statistically, looking at the data, although Nani has no experience in Stream Team Battle and Disterbia has 14-10 as a record, I can't see how Nani doesn't take this at least 3-1.
I agree with you. I have this as 3-1 in favor of Lil Nani. Yeah, it's the character matchup, it's the experience levels, and the win rate. Yeah, Disturbia's win rate against Honda. I'm not surprised. If you could look at an overall average win rate of players of that rank against Honda, it's probably terrible. You know, this is probably not a Disturbia specific issue. I think everybody has problems with Honda at that level. I mean, at all levels, people have problems with Honda. So that doesn't surprise me at all. And I did watch some replays of Lil Nani, because as you mentioned, he has not been here. They have not been on Stream Team Battle yet. Does a lot of the basic Honda stuff and plays nice and tight. You know, uses a headbutt. If you're not punishing the headbutt, you're going to have issues. Throws out the butt slam, things like that can be very hard to deal with if you don't know the specific situations. I mean, Disturbia, a lot of Stream Team Battle experience. Also, Jury has some tricks of her own. But I think the tight gameplay of Lil Nani as a player combined with the character is going to be very tough. So I see that as a 3-1.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning that Disturbia has some notable habits that we'll see over this past month if he's been able to iron out those wrinkles. But if he has those still in the game, he could be in big trouble. And in Stream Team League, you're actually able to move your first RAM. If you guys are not aware, I'll probably post a graphic right here where the bottom two divisions have a couple of RAMs, and if you win 3-0 against your opponent, you actually open up a lifeline to where if your team loses, it sets up a whole nother set so you can actually earn some points and make a comeback. You're actually able to move your RAMs around now. So if you wanted to have your RAM in Division 5 because you feel like your opponent is just not going to be able to handle it, and you get that early 3-0, that's an early lifeline to ensure that no matter how poorly this goes, you'll be able to get a comeback set. And I think we're going to see a lot of those plays in Division 5. And I mentioned that because Disturbia has a playstyle in which that allows a 3-0 to happen against you, just if your calls don't work out right, you know? So that was worth mentioning in that regard. But that being said, 3-1 Lil Nani as we move on to Division 4 with Step 4 versus Bane. Now, Step 4 has a 9-8 record in Stream Team Battle with a 41% win average against Gale. Bane, again, high win percentage for Team Espadah. He has a 73% win average against Ken. Again, that could be Ken being a fairly popular character, and Gil, you don't think about parry anti-air until you get hit by it. But yeah, it's worth mentioning again that Bane has no Stream Team Battle experience. So Espadah is kind of the dark horse team where we probably know the least amount about these guys.
They are dark horses. I actually did a little bit of research on Bane, looked up a couple of replays, and I think this is going to be really tough for Step 4. Step 4, plays Ken. I noticed he has 5,400 ranked matches, which is a pretty good amount. And I feel like if you're at that level, and again, I could be off on these things, so I'm kind of making assumptions just based on numbers. There are kind of a lot of like habits that you can envision going on with that, and I feel like Ken's like to push buttons. Ken's get kind of wild. The always running joke of Street Fighter V has been the Wi-Fi Ken. Not that Step 4 is that, but it's hard to get away from those kind of those biases in my mind. And knowing that Bane, I've seen some of Bane's gameplay. Just watching a couple of matches on CFN, a couple of replays, I've seen some really good comebacks. I've seen some pretty intricate offense. I think it's going to be super tough for Step 4. I have this actually as a 3-0 in favor of Bane. Dang. I think Gil is so hard to deal with. His moves eat so much space. From what I know now, the data I do have, I think it's 3-0 for Bane.
Interesting, the first sweep prediction.
Yeah.
I've actually been playing this matchup a lot, and I will say it's difficult if you don't know where to find the openings, and so you're totally right that this could go totally wrong if you. He has no excuse to not do homework. He's had a long time to do his homework, but did he do it? That's what it's going to come down to. Ken has an answer for everything that Gil does. He can HP, DP, almost all of his little spaced moves, but to Step 4 have the reactions, because I know that it's been taking me a long time to get a hold of it, and I play this game a lot. So I think I'm going to say 3-1. I think Step 4 will be able to get a game in there, but you're right. I can't see him beating Bane. there is one factor to take into account here, is that actually Step 4's division up player is also a Ken player in MissPatriciaa. Now, if she has if you have another character specialist who uses the same character as you that's in your corner, she'll be able to identify a little bit more quickly, like, you know, I think you should probably be using this V trigger for this matchup, and then you can do this or whatever. That could be a big help, but she does have a match of her own against OMPSpartan's Kage, and Patty, very experienced in Stream Team Battle with a 14-9 win average, 52% win average, which was average, against Spartan, 0-3 in Stream Team Battle, but that's just one set. Could happen to anyone, with a 60% win average. What are your thoughts?
I see this as slight advantage. Patty, I feel like she's had a really good rise lately in rank. She's a diamond now. She's been leveling up big time, which is really impressive. You mentioned that Patty also recently has started working the V systems more into her gameplay based on her character, opponent, and the person she's going against. Because for a while she was very dedicated to V trigger 2 for good reason. It's an excellent V trigger. I mean, I know it very well. I play Zeku and I can't get away from V trigger 2 myself. To me, that impresses me. So yeah, I think advantage Patty here. One of
the major things that helps you grow as a fighting game player is to step outside of your comfort zone, and it takes a lot to do that. It took me 5 years just to step away from Akuma for a second. You just want to do what you know, because as soon as you step away, you're going to start losing a lot more than you already do. But you have to go through those little growing pains in order to evolve, and that's what she did when she picked V-Trigger 1 against Balrog a few Stream Team battles back, and all of a sudden just bopped him. I was like, what the hell you been doing? So again, as you mentioned, she's been on an ascension lately, and looking good, and she hasn't lost a Stream Team battle in a little while. So I got this 3-1 in Patty's favor. Did you say a score?
I actually didn't. I had it as 3-2.
3-2.
But still pretty similar, yeah.
I think V-Trigger 2 Ken gives Kage a hard time, especially if Spartan just throws one red fireball without noticing. Oh god, and then and
exactly.
It's a full and he's 925 health, I think, so you're dead. Now we're moving into one of the more interesting ones that is going to be hard for me to predict. Chobo versus That Masher. It's interesting because Chobo could easily be named That Masher, and it would be totally fitting. She goes hard, she goes fast, she plays fast, and Masher, if you ever watch his stream, he likes to counter parries, buttons, crush counters. So this is one of those ones that, even if I make a prediction, I wouldn't be surprised if I was way off. That being said, Chobo is 9-4 in Stream Team Battle, which is good. As we mentioned, Honda, even it doesn't matter what the player is necessarily when we're talking about some of these things, but Honda's hard to beat if you don't have the answers. So with a 55% win average against Masher, who's been on only once, 3-1 record with a 44% win average against Honda, as I mentioned. It's not a surprise to me that Masher has a hard time with Honda. But that being said, you have a little bit more information now. You don't have an excuse to not have your homework done. So I have this 3-2 in Chobo's favor.
I like that prediction. I actually had it as 3-1, but that kind of makes me rethink, because I don't know what kind of tricks that Masher is going to have, because like you said, he tends to pull out some interesting stuff at clutch times. I might change mine to 3-2. I think I would also go with that.
Like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if it was 3-1 in Masher's favor. It does seem like that type of matchup where if Chobo just can't get anything started and his crush counters are working and he gets the right parry. But it's also worth mentioning that Espadah has been on a couple times, and in his right, he was teaching a Division 2 player in the middle of the match, and he only said one thing that I could hear, and it was like, hey, this guy keeps throw teching after this situation, go ahead and press forward fierce. The guy didn't listen, but the throw tech came, and it made me realize that Espadah is going to be good at pointing out that one thing I was just talking about. It's one thing to be like a high level player. He's a good player, but on top of that, he's able to just convey one single thing that can make, he knows the difference in a single change, where it's like you just notice someone's throw tech, you blow up one throw tech, that could be the round right there. So if he's able to make those little pinpoint things like, hey, Chobo keeps mashing hands after this, and there's a 6-frame gap right that you press this. If he's able to do that, Masher's able to listen, that could totally go the other way around. Stream Team Battle, is so heavily leveraged on what your teammates can tell you. I mean, just imagine you not knowing something and you have a little earpiece in that's literally telling you that's -6, press this after that, and just changes the outcome immediately. Stream Team Battle has that potential, and even though we've been doing this for a year and have a lot of exhibitions, I still feel like we haven't seen like a team maximized with that type of informational passing.
I think you're right. And this league is where we might start to see that, get close to something like that.
You could be right. I mean, $50 on the line. I'm gonna speak my mind about what my teammates need to do. Hey, you better listen to me. But if I'm telling you something is something on block, you need to trust your teammates if they're telling you something at the end of the day. So we have that. Is fair to say both of us think 3-2 in Chobo's favor?
Yes.
That moves us to our final game of the night at the end of the doubleheader. As you guys know, these guys will play, and no matter who wins these sets, there's a schedule. I'll probably pop up on the screen right now. They already have a predetermined opponent who they're going to play next, and that's just going to carry on throughout. So, but whoever is a winner of each of these sets is in a really good spot. Whereas if you lost, you can't afford to lose anymore. That being said, we are moving to the Captain Division. Metro versus Espadah. Luke the God. As of right now, it's impossible for me to vote against Luke with any competent player. Metro's good. Vega is not anywhere as good as Luke is. I can't see this being anywhere more than 5-2 in Espadah's favor.
I kind of agree with that. I had it as 5-3, but it could easily be more lopsided than that. A lot of it is I personally don't have a lot of experience watching Metro. I've seen a little bit more Espadah. And of course, like you said, Vega is really not that good. I know Metro plays, I think, in a lot of competitive settings, tournaments and things, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Vega, I don't know if Vega's going to have that many answers against Luke, and especially someone of Espadah's caliber. Something that really stuck out to me that makes me kind of biased toward Espadah is Espadah came on the Stream Team Battle the day after really getting bopped in a 1st to 10 that was streamed. He came into Stream Team Battle and killed it. He played great. So I was very impressed by that competitive fortitude that he showed there. And so that makes me think that, yeah, in a competitive setting, you know, I really like seeing that. That made such an impression on me that I feel like that in my mind, that is points for Espadah. And so I have it as 5-3, but that's more because of unknown. I don't know that Metro is going to have trouble, so I would think that Metro is a very good player, can probably get at least a couple of games. So that is why I have it as 5-3. But yeah, it could be more in Espadah's favor. You could be right.
And likewise, you could be right as well. Where I mean, Luke Vega, I don't know how. And usually when you run into a Vega in ranked, it's nothing like what you would experience from a higher level Vega. I know Vega is appearing on the weaker side. I still think he's a very strong character. At the end of the day, has really strong buttons. And I can see Luke having a problem with some of those buttons, maybe, but only to an extent because Luke is just ridiculous. It's interesting to see each team player can actually change their character a few days in advance. I have to pick 5 days in advance so that the other person can get a prep up. But as of now, Luke is untouched, but there is a patch going on sometime this month, and it's interesting to see what happens to Luke. So this early stage, Espadah picking Luke is a really smart decision, but you know, he might have to pull the Ken out a little later on if they actually do decide to do something to Luke. So I don't have the total numbers in front of me. What do those team scores look like?
So total, based on what I went through, I have it as 15-10 in favor of Team Espadah. But I didn't factor in things like coaching. This is just purely this person versus this person down the line. I think it could make a big difference. Like you mentioned, that Patty could help out Step 4 with certain tech and going against Gil. You know, Patty in her wave of destruction has probably bopped hundreds of Gils to get where she's gotten. She might have good advice for Step 4 to be able to overcome some of the tricks that Bane is using with Gil. Also, Chobo might have help for Disterbia dealing with Lil Nani. I have that one as 3-1. So I do have it as 15-10, which is pretty decisive in favor of Team Espadah. But if a couple of those things can flip, it's tied or even in favor of Team Metro. You know, a 3-0 or in a 3-1, if you can flip those to be a 3-2 or even win it outright yourself, that's good. That would change things completely, and it would then I'd have Metro as the winner. So I would be fascinated if something like that could happen. I'd love to see that. that possibility. So I think the coaching could become a factor, like you were talking about. I thought that was a great point earlier.
Yeah, and also, as I mentioned before with the Ram thing, if you're able to get that 3-0 on a spot where you have a Ram and get a whole extra set to make a potential comeback, that's actually huge. It was an underused tool in Stream Team Battle where I offered, where you replace that Ram, you can put it in the right spot, that could change everything. And next thing you know, your team loses, but then you have another chance to get another set. You might want to pick wisely where that Ram goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But those are the two teams, guys. And as I mentioned, as we keep saying, double headers, and there's $1,000 prize pot that's paid by the players, $50 a player. That's not a small investment, and it's gonna be 3 hellish weeks for these guys. Lots of stress. All go down to the finals of either a 3-0 versus 2-1 or 2-2-1 teams. So it's gonna be very exciting to see how that develops and how these players develop over time. Any closing statements, Andy?
I'm so excited for this. We've been talking about this for months. I think after even just a month or two of Stream Team Battle, over a year ago, I said, do a league. We got to do a league stack. We got to get this format into a league and see how these guys develop and see, because I think it's going to open up so many more of the things that are fun about Stream Team Battle already. They're going to be magnified, and I think we're going to see new developments that we haven't even before. So yeah, I couldn't be more pumped for this. Yeah,
you're right. I mean, as we said before, we've had Stream Team Battles with like $10 on the line, $5 on the line, and even that little change really boosts the tension. Like you're like, all of a sudden there's something on the line and it gets a little different in the air. People start to get a little bit more pissed when they lose. Times that by 5, and then the potential to win 1,000. We're gonna see some totally different gameplay.
Oh, absolutely. And you're talking about too, every week is just a step on the ladder toward the goal of winning. So you could win your first 2, you could win your first 3, you could win the first 3 weeks, but then you still have to win the championship. So the pressure is going to be so much more when we get to second week, third week, and then the championship, because you've worked at that point for an entire month. And now all that is on the line. All that work you've put in is on the line in just one event, one match, one round, potentially, when it gets to that point. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. All right, guys. Stream Team League Week 1 is right around the corner. This Monday, 6 p.m. Central. Doubleheader. $1,000 on the line. I want to see your predictions in the comments below. Do you agree, disagree with us? And we will see you guys there.